language is my playground and ADHD is my lens. I'm Hiba Bayat, the ADHD linguist and coach. Around here we explore words, worlds and wiring with curiosity, compassion and the occasional tangent. Because growth is messy, meaning is layered, and shift really does happen. Hey everyone, it's Hiba, the ADHD linguist. It feels really good to be back. If you've been following this podcast for a while, you'll know it's been a little quiet here. And that silence was intentional. I needed a pause. But as I've learned, sometimes the pause is part of the plan. So let me tell you a bit about why I stepped back. Like many of you, my brain doesn't move in straight lines. It sprints, it drifts, it overthinks, it crashes, it creates, and sometimes it just needs space to breathe. Over the past few months, I've been taking in your feedback, listening to my own rhythms, and learning to give myself permission to rest without guilt. That's something ADHD brains often wrestle with, especially when Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria, or RSD, joins the mix. RSD isn't an official diagnosis, but a clinical observation first described by Dr William Dodson. It refers to the intense emotional pain that comes from real or perceived criticism, rejection, or disappointment. Research shows that many of us with ADHD experience stronger emotional responses and slower recovery because of differences in the brain's regulation systems, particularly the prefrontal cortex and amygdala. In simple terms, we feel rejection in high definition. It's not just emotional, it's neurological. As a linguist, I often think of RSD as emotional misinterpretation, like interpreting a message before all the words have arrived. The brain fills in the blanks with fear or self-doubt, and the message we hear isn't always the one that was meant. And just like in interpreting, the context matters. The same phrase can mean comfort or rejection depending on tone, timing, or history. That realization changed how I approached my own pause. So instead of rushing back out of fear that people would forget me, I started to see silence as part of communication too. In interpreting, pauses aren't empty. They are processing times, meaning in motion. And in life, that's true too. Sometimes we need to let thoughts settle before we speak again. I also realized I don't want the ADHD linguist to just be a podcast about ADHD. I want it to be a space where language, life, and lived experience meet, where we talk about the words we use for our wiring and how those words shape how we see ourselves. The episodes are still short and focused, but this time they carry a little more story, a little more softness, and a little more soul. I've also removed the background music after hearing from listeners who found it distracting, to make this space calmer and easier to follow. Because sometimes the best ideas come after we stop trying to force them. Sometimes stepping back is how we find our voice again. And that's what this new chapter is really about, finding rhythm, not perfection. If you've been feeling the weight of burnout, overthinking, or emotional intensity, this is your reminder that you're not behind. Your brain might just be pausing for a reason. In this new season, we'll explore not just ADHD, but also how language itself can help us make sense of it, how naming a feeling gives it shape, and how interpretation isn't just between languages, but between minds. You've been listening to the ADHD Linguist, where words, worlds, and wiring meet. I'm Hiba Bayat, and I hope this episode left you a little more curious, a little more kind to your brain, and a lot more you. Until next time, keep noticing, keep learning, and remember, shift really does happen.